Alright, so let's go ahead and do a roast, and I'm kind of showing you a close-up here of the profile that we're going to use so that you can see the steps that are in there. And it has been downloaded to the roaster, and we'll look at the display on the roaster, and you can see that we have a fan speed of 9, time of 2.5 minutes, and we are on low heat. Now the beans that we're going to be roasting today are Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, and if you have never tried them, they're pretty good beans. So we'll go ahead and we'll start adding some beans here. Now I'm going to get 4 scoops of beans and put them into the chamber. And it's probably not critical that you have exactly 4 scoops. But we'll get it close. Alright. Now I'm going to put the chimney on the roaster. And on the side of the roaster there's a little notch here that you can see. And the handle of the chimney fits right over top of that. Now the chaff collector, and let me open it up so you can see inside it. This is the chaff collector, and it does a very good job of collecting chaff. When it's all said and done, this thing is going to be pretty full of chaff, but it won't be blowing around the neighborhood. So I'll put it back together, and I'm going to set this up here. Now, the chaff collector on the top also, if you look at the bottom, it has a thing that fits right into the handle. And once it's on there, it's held in place. Alright, so let's get busy. We're going to go ahead and start this roast and get it underway. So what we'll do, I'm going to go up here and if I can get my cursor where it belongs, okay. We're going to press the Run Cool button. If you were standing here, I can already smell beans. So let me get around to the other side so we can see the display a little bit. And we'll get a good view of the beans. And if you notice on the display, it's actually counting down. It was at 2.5 minutes. It's down to 2.0 minutes now. And so we'll watch the beans, and you can see that they're just kind of, right now they're being blown in the air and they're being dried. But I can smell already, they're starting to get pretty warm. And if we look at the temperature on the computer screen, you can see that it is actually above 400 degrees already, and we're on low heat. This thing runs pretty hot. Okay, the beans are starting to smell quite a bit. And we're down to 1.3 minutes on our drying cycle. And this will continue here. And when we get down to the 0 on our time, we're going to switch. Let's look at these beans as they're beginning to take on more of a yellowish tint. They're beginning to dry, and actually they're turning a little bit more of a brownish color. So they're actually starting to roast a bit, even though we're on low. I think if you were to use a drum roaster and you had it on a low heat like this, I don't think you would be actually roasting the beans. I think with the hot top, you can actually set the temperature and you can keep it at about 385 degrees while the beans are drying, and you don't worry about this. But knowing that this is what's happening, you just make it a part of your profile and you'll be alright. Okay, we're down now to 0.2 minutes left in the drying cycle. We're going to be changing over here any minute now to our roasting step. Okay, if you heard that, the fan just slowed down. we moved to our roasting step. We're on high heat at a 5 fan speed, and we're getting a pretty good aroma right now from these beans. As you can see, they are getting a little darker, and they're going to start to puff up and get a little larger. We'll zoom in so you can see the beans as we go along. And we started into first crack. I don't know if you can hear it. We are into first crack. And the beans are beginning to roast right along. We've got half a minute left. I think we're going to be right around the end of first crack when this stops, and it's a good place to be with these Yirgacheffe beans. They kind of like a light roast. They don't like getting a real dark roast as much. They're well suited for a light roast. Okay, we're down to our last 12 seconds. First crack is still happening, so we're in pretty good shape here. First crack is just about over. We just bumped up now into cooling. And we got 3 minutes to cool at a fan speed of 9. First crack has just about gotten over. I think it's cooled down enough to stop it. Let's look at the temperature. Yes, we're down to 100. As you can see, once you get in there, it cools down pretty quick. I didn't show you the temperature on high heat, but it would have been about 490, and we're already down to under 200 degrees, and that's pretty quick. I wish YouTube had a smell function, but they don't. You can see what these beans are smelling like right now. And, you know, I want to point out, you can see that there's not a lot of smoke coming out of this thing. You can smell it. You can smell the aroma, and it will set your smoke alarm off, but it's not a lot of visible smoke. Matter of fact, I don't see any visible smoke, and I haven't since this roast's been going on. The only time I've seen visible smoke of this is when I roasted way too dark, and it was about to start a fire, and there was a lot of smoke that time. So I don't get it that close anymore. I kind of keep it backed up. Okay, we're in our second minute of cooling cycle. These beans are looking pretty good. And what I like to do when I'm cooling, I like to keep a pan close by. Over here, I have a metal pan that I set the beans in. And I'm going to dump the beans into that pan once the cooling cycle is finished and finish the cooling. And they cool pretty quickly in that pan. In fact, I think probably that you could stop this without going through the cooling cycle and put them straight in that pan and probably get them cooled down as quick, if not quicker, than using this. But I think it's not a bad idea to run the cooling cycle and to cool the heating coil down in this thing a little bit, make it last longer. I haven't actually heard that that's the case, but I think it would be. All in all, this thing does a pretty admirable job. It doesn't take long to do a roast. As you can see, we're just about finished now with the cooling cycle. And we'll be able to dump these out on the pan and take a look at the beans, and you'll be able to see what kind of shape they're in. Close up here. Okay, cooling cycle is over. And I am going to take this chaff collector off. I'm going to open it up so you can see inside it. And as you can see, there's a good amount of chaff in there. Now, let's take the beans, spread them out into there. And just take them out a little. Let them cool off. They have a very, very nice aroma to them right now. A very nice aroma. And you can see, overall, pretty even roast. There's not a lot of variance in this roast. You don't have a lot of real dark beans. You don't have a lot of real light ones. It's pretty consistent. Not perfect. I'm sure that if you had a $1,000 hot top, that would do a little more consistent roast than this, but I think this is pretty good. Well, I hope that this has answered any of your questions you might have, and I hope that it's given you an idea of what the FreshRoast SR700 will do. Thank you for watching, and you have a nice day.